I stepped into the boutique, expecting to see my dream wedding dress waiting for me. But the moment I turned to the mirror, my heart slammed against my ribs. The dress I had chosen, the one I had poured my heart into picking, was gone. In its place was a suffocating, yellowed relic, high-collared and drowning in lace. A dress that belonged to someone else's story. Behind me, Gloria's voice cut through the silence like a blade. Isn't it magnificent? 5 generations of Hargrave brides have worn this. Nathan will be so pleased. My throat tightened. This wasn't just a dress. This was a message. A warning. Gloria wasn't planning a wedding. She was planning my obedience. And in that moment, as the fabric constricted around me, I knew, if I didn't fight back now, I would lose more than my wedding. I would lose myself. I stepped into the boutique, my heart pounding with excitement. This was supposed to be my final wedding dress fitting, the moment I had been dreaming of for months. But as I turned toward the mirror, the sight before me sent a chill down my spine. Instead of the elegant, modern gown I had carefully chosen, I was trapped in a suffocating, yellowed monstrosity of lace and high collars. The dress felt heavy, restrictive, like a relic from a century-old photograph. Behind me, Gloria stood tall, her lips curled into a satisfied smile. "Isn't it magnificent?" she mused, clasping her hands together as if she had just gifted me the crown jewels. 5 generations of Hargrave brides have worn this dress. Nathan will be so pleased to see you honoring our family's traditions. I met the boutique owner's eyes in the mirror, silently pleading for an explanation. She quickly looked away, suddenly very interested in adjusting the hem of the outdated gown. I didn't need to ask, I already knew the answer. Gloria had orchestrated this. She had used her influence, her money, her intimidating presence to ensure that my chosen dress was replaced with this relic of control. I swallowed hard, forcing my hands to remain steady even as my skin prickled with anger. "Where's my dress?" I asked, my voice even, though my stomach twisted with unease. Gloria waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, I had them send it back. This one is so much more appropriate for a Hargrave wedding. That modern thing you picked looked more like something for a cocktail party than a proper church ceremony." I clenched my fists beneath the layers of stiff fabric. This wasn't just about a dress. This was about control. A message, loud and clear, that my choices, my voice, meant nothing in this family. I reached for my phone, prepared to call Nathan, but before I could dial, Gloria's manicured hand shot out, gripping my wrist with surprising strength. "Don't bother Nathan at work with such trivial matters, dear." Her voice was sweet, but her nails dug into my skin. "He trusts my judgment when it comes to these things." And that's when I saw it, the glint in her eyes, the slight twitch at the corner of her mouth. Triumph. She wasn't just replacing my dress. She was reminding me of my place. I took a slow breath, unclenching my jaw, and forced a smile. "You're right, Gloria," I said smoothly. "Why don't you give me a moment alone to appreciate the details of this beautiful dress?" She hesitated, probably sensing something in my tone, but social graces won out. "Of course, dear. I'll just be outside." The moment she stepped out, I turned back to the mirror, pulling out my phone. I snapped photo after photo, every yellowed seam, every outdated embellishment, every inch of this ridiculous, suffocating reminder of my lack of control. Then, I opened my messages and typed quickly. "Me, you won't believe what she's done now. Meet me at Joe's in 30. Bring wine." Ivy's response came almost immediately. "I'm on my way. Tell me everything." I took one last look at my reflection, then straightened my posture. If Gloria wanted to play games, she was about to learn that her future daughter-in-law knew how to play them too. The difference? I had something she didn't. Nothing left to lose. That evening, I paced the living room, my arms crossed tightly over my chest, anger simmering just beneath the surface. Nathan sat on the couch, barely glancing up from his laptop as I told him what had happened at the boutique. When I finally stopped, waiting for his reaction, he sighed and shut his laptop with an exaggerated slowness. "Alara, you're overreacting," he said, rubbing his temples. Mom was just trying to do something special for you. I let out a sharp laugh, disbelief cutting through my frustration. Special? Nathan, she completely disregarded my choice and had my dress replaced with that antique horror show without even telling me. Do you know how much time I spent picking the perfect dress? And you think I'm overreacting? Nathan shifted uncomfortably. Look, you know how important traditions are to her. Maybe we can compromise. Wear her dress for the ceremony and change into yours for the reception. I stared at him, waiting for some sign that he was joking. You want me to just go along with it? To reward her for steamrolling my decision like it didn't even matter? My voice was rising now, but I didn't care. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed. A message from Gloria. Darling, I've taken the liberty of revising the guest list. I've added a few essential family friends. Don't worry about the extra costs. We'll handle everything. I froze. My fingers gripped the phone so tightly my knuckles ached. I turned the screen toward Nathan. See? This isn't just about a dress. She's taking over our entire wedding, and you're letting her. Nathan's expression flickered, his gaze lingering on the message longer than necessary. But then he shook his head. She's paying for most of it, Alara. It makes sense that she'd have some say. I blinked. What do you mean, most of it? We agreed to split the costs with your parents. He shifted again, suddenly very interested in straightening the books on the coffee table. With the changes at work and an investment opportunity Mom suggested, things are a little tight right now. She offered to cover some of the extra expenses. My stomach dropped. Nathan. My voice was barely above a whisper. How much do we owe your mother? His silence told me everything. I let out a shaky breath, sinking onto the armrest of the couch. Gloria hadn't just meddled with my dress. She had bought the wedding right out from under us. Bought control over us. She doesn't want to help, Nathan, I said quietly, shaking my head. She wants to own us. And you're letting her. Nathan's jaw tightened. That's not fair. I looked at the man I was supposed to marry, the man who had just admitted his mother was financing our wedding, rearranging our guest list, dictating what I would wear, and now had him financially trapped. And he still didn't see it. I wasn't just fighting for my wedding anymore. I was fighting for my future. Gloria swept into our living room like she owned it, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor. She barely glanced at me before setting a thick binder on the coffee table. I've been meeting with the wedding planner, she announced, flipping through pages of what was supposed to be my wedding. We need to discuss some necessary adjustments. Nathan sat up straighter, clearly uneasy. Adjustments? Gloria barely acknowledged his concern. Yes. First, we'll need to rethink the ceremony. The minister at St. Augustine's has expressed concerns about your unconventional vows. She turned to me, her expression cool. Personal vows are unnecessary, dear. Traditional ones will do just fine. I clenched my jaw. I spent weeks writing those vows. She waved a dismissive hand. It's for the best. My hands curled into fists in my lap. She wasn't just planning the wedding, she was erasing me from it. As she continued her dictation, my gaze drifted toward the entryway table where she had carelessly placed her purse. The flap hung open just enough for me to see a familiar-looking leather notebook peeking out. Her therapy notebook. She always carried it. I had seen her jot things down before. Notes, schedules, maybe something more. A spark of instinct ignited inside me. I needed to see what was in there. While Gloria droned on about floral arrangements, I shifted, knocking over a nearby candle with a small gasp. Nathan jumped up. You okay? Yeah, just clumsy, I murmured, using the distraction to slide the notebook from her bag and tuck it under a pile of magazines on the table. A few agonizing minutes later, Gloria finally gathered her things. I trust we're all in agreement, she said smoothly. I didn't reply. The second she was gone, I grabbed the notebook and my keys, muttering something to Nathan about needing fresh air. 15 minutes later, I was parked 2 blocks from her therapist's office, hands shaking as I flipped through the pages. The first few entries were about Nathan. Nathan will never survive on his own. He needs my guidance, just like his father did. I swallowed hard and kept reading. Then came Jocelyn. Jocelyn's art career was getting out of hand. If she succeeds, she won't need me anymore. Called the gallery last week. A few well-placed concerns about her reliability should keep things in check. My stomach twisted. Then I saw my name. This girl is filling Nathan's head with dangerous ideas. Independence. Boundaries. I must eliminate her influence before it's too late. The air in my car suddenly felt too thick. My phone buzzed. Nathan, Mom is worried about her missing notebook. Have you seen it? I stared at the message, my pulse pounding. Gloria wasn't just overbearing. She wasn't just controlling. She was actively sabotaging the lives of the people she claimed to love. And now she knew I had proof. I sat in my car, gripping my phone, the notebook still open on my lap. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the damning entries, bile rising in my throat. I needed someone to believe me. Someone to see what I saw. I called Jocelyn. She answered on the second ring. Hey, Alara. What's going on? I hesitated, then took a breath. Jocelyn, I have something to tell you. And it's bad. She sighed. If this is about the wedding. It's not. I closed my eyes, steadying myself. It's about your mother. I have her therapy notebook. Silence. Then a sharp inhale. What? She wrote everything down, Jocelyn. How she's been manipulating Nathan, controlling his career, and how she sabotaged your art show. Jocelyn scoffed, but there was something shaky in her voice. That's ridiculous. She called buyers before your gallery opening, told them things that made them second-guess investing in your work. That's why no one showed up. Another long silence. Then her voice broke. I thought maybe I wasn't good enough. That my art just didn't. You were good enough, Jocelyn, I said softly. She made sure you failed, so you'd always rely on her. A sharp breath, a muffled curse. I can't believe this. I heard a knock on my window. My stomach dropped. Nathan. His expression was unreadable, his jaw set. I lowered the window, still clutching the notebook. Give it back, Alara. His voice was eerily calm. I shook my head. Nathan, please. Read it. See what she's done to you, to Jocelyn. She told me you stole it, he said, his voice tightening. That you're making things up to drive a wedge between us. I sucked in a sharp breath. Nathan. It's all in here. Her words. She admitted to controlling your job offers, to tanking Jocelyn's career, too. He cut me off. You had no right to take her private thoughts. I laughed bitterly. Private thoughts? She's been ruining our lives. Nathan's face twisted with frustration. She's my mother. She only wants what's best for me. I felt something inside me crack. No, Nathan. She wants to own you. His silence stretched between us like a chasm. Finally, he said, this is exactly why she says you're not ready to be part of our family. The words hit like a punch to the gut. I looked at the man I had planned to marry, the man who had just chosen his mother's control over our future. I swallowed back the lump in my throat. You're right, Nathan. I placed the notebook on the passenger seat, grabbed my purse, and opened the car door. I'm not ready to be part of your family, I said, my voice steady. Not like this. And then I walked away, leaving him standing there, still trapped in Gloria's grasp. Ivy's spare bedroom became my refuge, a safe place where Gloria's influence couldn't reach. The walls were lined with mismatched bookshelves, the bed was too soft, and the scent of lavender candles filled the air. But most importantly, it was quiet. Quiet enough for me to think, to write. I sat cross-legged on the bed, my laptop open, fingers hovering over the keyboard. This wasn't the fantasy novel I had been struggling with for months. This was something raw, something real. A story about a woman who mistook control for love. A woman who smothered her children under the weight of her expectations. And a girl who had to lose everything to break free. My phone buzzed. Jocelyn. I answered. Hey. I just got off the phone with Mom. She sounded exhausted. She's telling everyone you had a breakdown and stole her private medical records. I let out a bitter laugh. Of course she is. She's not stopping there. Jocelyn hesitated. She froze your bank accounts. I sat up straight. What? She told the bank you took money from her under false pretenses. Until it's investigated, they're putting a hold on your funds. Rage burned in my chest. That's not enough for her, is it? There's more. Jocelyn sighed. She sent a cease and desist letter to your literary agent. She's claiming you're trying to defame her. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. And Nathan? Jocelyn hesitated. He's not correcting her. Of course. I pressed my fingers against my temple, trying to keep my frustration from spiraling. She's trying to erase me. She's trying to make sure no one believes you, Jocelyn corrected. Then softer. But I do. And I'm done letting her win. I exhaled slowly. Then let's fight. An hour later, I sat with Ivy at the kitchen table, scrolling through the damage Gloria had done. My accounts were locked. My literary agent hadn't responded to my last email. Online, the whispers were already spreading, posts hinting at my supposed instability, my erratic behavior. Ivy set down a glass of wine in front of me. So, what's next? I tapped my laptop screen. I finished writing. She raised an eyebrow. Even after the cease and desist? I met her gaze. Especially after the cease and desist. My phone buzzed again. A new email. Subject, your story. I clicked it open, my breath catching. Hi, Alara. I came across your work through mutual contacts. If what I'm hearing is true, this is more than just a personal story. It's something that needs to be told. I'd love to discuss publishing possibilities. Let's talk. Marcus Chun, Horizon Publishing. I stared at the screen, my hands trembling. Gloria wanted to silence me. Instead, she had given me the most powerful tool of all. A voice. I turned my laptop back toward me, fingers flying over the keyboard. This wasn't just my fight anymore. This was about breaking the cycle. The conference room at Horizon Publishing was silent, save for the slow ticking of the wall clock. I sat across from Gloria, her usual mask of poise slipping just slightly around the edges. Nathan sat beside her, his face unreadable, while Jocelyn, shoulders squared, took the seat next to me. Marcus Chun leaned back in his chair, hands folded, observing. Between us, my manuscript sat on the polished table like a bomb waiting to go off. Gloria's lawyer, a man with too perfect hair and an air of smugness, cleared his throat. Let's be clear, this is blackmail. He gestured toward the pages. Publishing this would be a deliberate attack on my client's reputation. Marcus smirked. Actually, it's a compelling memoir about family dynamics and emotional abuse. He glanced at me. And our legal team has already vetted it. Gloria's jaw clenched. It's fiction. I tilted my head. Is it? Reaching into my bag, I pulled out a USB drive and set it on the table. Let's find out. I pressed play on my phone, and Gloria's own voice filled the room. Nathan will never survive on his own. He needs my guidance, just like his father did. Nathan stiffened. The recording continued. Jocelyn's art career was getting out of hand. If she succeeds, she won't need me anymore. Jocelyn let out a sharp breath, her hands curling into fists. Gloria's lawyer leaned forward. This recording was taken without consent. Jocelyn cut him off. It doesn't matter. I have my own evidence. She slid a folder across the table. Emails, messages, call logs. All the times my mother interfered with my career. My gallery opening, the private buyers she called to discourage them from purchasing my work. She looked Gloria straight in the eye. You destroyed my career because you were afraid I wouldn't need you anymore. Gloria exhaled sharply. That's not true. It is. Nathan's voice was barely above a whisper. Everyone turned to him. His hands were clasped together, his expression unreadable. But I saw it, the cracks forming, the weight of a realization hitting him all at once. The London job offer, he said slowly. 3 years ago. Did you really call them and withdraw my application? Gloria's silence was answer enough. Nathan inhaled sharply, rubbing his forehead. All this time, I thought I wasn't good enough, that I didn't have the right experience. But it was you. He shook his head. You made sure I failed, just like you did to Jocelyn. His voice trembled, but there was something else in it now. Anger. Recognition. Gloria turned to him, her expression desperate. Nathan, I was protecting you. You were making reckless choices, and No, his voice was firm now. You weren't protecting me. You were controlling me. I leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. Gloria's gaze snapped back to me. You're going to sign over Nathan's trust fund. No more financial control. You're going to stop interfering in Jocelyn's career. And you're going to stay out of our lives unless invited. Gloria's lawyer scoffed. You can't enforce that. Marcus slid a thick stack of documents across the table. Actually, we can. Gloria's face paled as she scanned the papers, financial records, call logs, emails. Every piece of manipulation laid out in legal form. Her hand trembled as she picked up the pen. Nathan exhaled slowly. Jocelyn reached for my hand under the table, squeezing it. Gloria set down the pen, her signature freshly inked. And with that, she lost her grip on us forever. 6 months later, I stood in Jocelyn's new art gallery, watching as guests sipped champagne and admired the pieces on display. The room was alive with energy. Journalists, collectors, and art lovers filled the space, praising the bold, emotional work that lined the walls. Jocelyn, beaming with confidence, moved effortlessly through the crowd. She had done it. Her career had finally taken off, free from the weight of Gloria's interference. She spotted me and hurried over, pressing a glass of champagne into my hand. To breaking free, she said with a grin, clinking her glass against mine. To breaking free, I echoed. A familiar voice interrupted. Alara. I turned and saw Nathan standing near the entrance. He looked different, less polished, more relaxed. The suit was gone, replaced by jeans and a sweater, his usual clean-shaven face now sporting a bit of scruff. I nodded toward him. Nathan. For a moment, we just looked at each other. Finally, he spoke. I read your book. I let out a small breath. Strings, a story of love, control, and breaking free had become a bestseller, stirring conversations about family dynamics, emotional abuse, and the invisible strings that some parents use to control their children. Nathan rubbed the back of his neck. It made me realize a lot.
About Mom.
About myself.
He sighed.
I quit the family firm. Got a job at a startup. It doesn't pay as much, but for the first time, I actually like what I do. I studied him, searching for any remnants of the man who had once dismissed my concerns, who had once chosen his mother's control over our future. But that man was gone. I gave a small nod. I'm glad, Nathan. Really? He hesitated, then reached into his pocket. I wanted to give you this. He placed a small envelope in my hand. Curious, I opened it and pulled out a check, enough to cover my half of the wedding expenses. Attached was a simple note. To restore your independence. No strings attached. I swallowed hard. It wasn't an attempt to win me back. It was an apology. Before I could say anything, my phone buzzed with a new email. Marcus Chen. I scanned the subject line, and my heart skipped. International book tour proposal, London, Paris, New York. I exhaled slowly, a smile tugging at my lips. This was it. My next chapter. Jocelyn peered over my shoulder. Big news. I turned my phone toward her, and her eyes widened. Alara, this is huge. I laughed, shaking my head in disbelief.
Yeah,
it is. Just then, another text popped up, Gloria. I stiffened, but as I read the message, something softened inside me. I started real therapy. For the first time, I'm listening instead of controlling. I hope, one day, you can forgive me. But no matter what, I'm proud of what you've done.
You were right.
Love shouldn't come with strings.
Gee.
I tucked my phone away, turning back to the party. I wasn't sure if I would ever forgive her. But for the first time, I knew that I didn't need her apology to move forward. I had already won.